Good morning. Good morning. Good morning, beautiful people. This is Babz Rawls Ivy. Welcome to Lovebabz, Lovetalk. You know, if it's around 9 o'clock, I'm doing my thing. So I'm talking today. Not playing music, I'm talking. I have in studio with me this morning Victoria Gray Allen and Ann Harrison from American Job Center and the Workforce Alliance.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
And so they're here to talk to me because I'm following up on this larger conversation that I had with Bill Villano when he was on a couple of weeks ago. I was so fascinated and intrigued by all the workforce development stuff that's going on and the kinds of recruitment and the kinds of jobs that are coming to this particular part in the tri-state area, but specifically to the Connecticut corridor. So when y'all was launching these new initiatives, I was like, well, they got to come on and talk about this. So how are you all?
We're great.
Welcome.
We're great.
So I know there's two particular things that you really want to get into, and that's the CEO, Project CEO. And I think, was there something else too?
Well, it's Project CEO and also just awareness of all the other youth and young adult programs.
Yes. And because, we hear so much conversation around young people not having access, and this clearly is some access. So talk a little bit about Project CEO and what does that mean? What does it look like?
Okay. When you hear the phrase Project CEO,
Mm-hmm.
I notice when I say that in public to anyone, the question in their mind is CEO. How do you get youth to be CEO? But it's a bigger picture than that.
Okay.
When I talk about Project CEO, I look at young adults being the CEO of their own lives.
Oh, wow, that's good.
Whatever choice they make, whatever career pathway, be the CEO of that pathway.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a chef, be the CEO.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a barber, be the CEO. Meaning, claim it, own it, being good at it. So good that people will bring people to watch you do it.
I love that. That's like what my mom used to say, if you're going to do something, be the best at whatever it is. If you're the janitor, be the best janitor.
Be the best.
That there ever was.
Absolutely.
So that's along those same lines.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So whose brainchild was this thing? Yours?
Yes. Yes. Somewhat. Yes. Yes. Somewhat.
So you were looking around and you said, we need to tackle this particular issue with young people.
Well,
And the particular issue, I think, is what you just said, them owning whatever it is they're doing to the
having
fullest.
them play a role in their own lives.
Okay.
Absolutely. Well, it's not a new concept because I'm coming from North Carolina.
Where?
I live in Dunn,
Because
North Carolina.
I went to school in North Carolina.
So I live in Dunn, North Carolina, but I worked in Fayetteville.
Oh, I have
North
relatives
Carolina.
who live in Fayetteville because they
Yes.
were military people.
Absolutely.
And so I spent a lot. My parents,
Fort
my,
Bragg is right there.
my mother is from Fairmount.
Ah,
Yes, so
Okay.
I know. And I went to
Yes.
Barber Scotia in
Uh-huh.
Concord. Yes, because my grandmother was a big fan of that school.
yes,
And my daughter is at Bennett.
yes.
So yeah.
So
I
we had
know.
a successful youth program in North Carolina.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm pretty much bringing the same concept, duplicating what we had in North Carolina
Okay.
here.
Okay. And Victoria, you wanted, Ann Harrison, you wanted to say?
I was going to say that how did this come about? When Victoria came to work with us here in New Haven in South Central Connecticut, we knew that she had been successful with this program in her previous position. So
Mm-hmm.
we were waiting with bated breath for her to get here and to be able to implement it here. And in a very short time, it's really grown tremendously.
Yes.
Okay, so give me the nuts and bolts of this program. Who's it for?
Let me tell you a story.
Okay.
Let me give you a little story.
Mm-hmm.
One Sunday in North Carolina, I was inside cooking, cleaning, doing all that. And I have a 19-year-old son at the time. And he was outside. It was fall and he was raking the leaves and the pine needles. And I guess his friends were trying to reach him by his cell phone and they couldn't reach him. So they called the house phone and I answered and they said, "Hi, Miss Victoria, we're trying to reach Mark Anthony. We're going to the museum and we'd like him to come." And I said, "He'll come. Don't worry about it. It has nothing to do. He'll come. He's just raking. When he's finished, he'll come." So after I hung up, I went outside and I said, "Mark Anthony, your friends are coming to pick you up to go to the museum." And he says, "When did they call?" And I said, "I guess they were trying to reach you and they couldn't. So they called the house phone." And I answered. He says, "And you told them I was coming?" And I said, "Yes. You have, what else you got to do? You've been in the house all weekend." He says, "Mom, I was right here. You didn't ask for my input."
Ooh.
And I remember I stood there, like I'm standing on the back steps and I'm looking at him like, but I wasn't angry at him. It sunk.
Mm-hmm.
He's 19 years old.
Yes.
And I'm
I've had
not
that moment.
allowing him
Yes.
any buy-in in his own life.
Yeah.
This is his life.
Yeah.
And that resonated with me,
Mm-hmm.
that young adults need to have a buy-in to be successful in whatever they're going to set out to do.
That's a good
They have to have a
aha
buy-in.
moment.
Yes, they must have a buy-in.
Yes.
So with Project CEO, from eligibility to enrollment, they immediately go into a workshop where we start to address, what are your career pathway? What are your interests? Why is it your interest? We administer some informal assessments to see, yes, you may be interested in it. You want to be a doctor, but is your personality suited for that? Because if your personality is not suited for a certain career pathway, you're not going to be successful.
Mm-hmm.
It's like someone who's more of an introvert, but they want to be a rock star.
Mm-hmm.
Let's think about that a little bit. Or somebody who is terrified of the computer and want to do computer programming. Let's think about that a little bit. So they go through some informal assessments.
Mm-hmm.
And after that, we put them through workshops to address soft skills that our employers are looking for. Because we hear employers say, the hard skills, we can teach them. The soft skills, time and attendance, professional language, work ethics, we can't teach them that. They have to come to us with that. That's where we come in.
Mm-hmm.
We start grounding and rounding the soft skills, even how to dress to be, to be successful. So what we do at the American Job Center, we simulate the work environment. So the career advisors as seen as your supervisor.
Okay.
The anything that we ask them to do, even to bring documents, is considered a project,
Mm-hmm.
and it has a deadline. So everything we do, when you walk into the Career Center, you have to see it as coming to work. So we're expecting you to look a certain way. We're expecting you to use a certain jargon or certain language that you would not, don't bring the street language into the Career Center because
Mm-hmm.
it's work. So they go through a 1-week orientation to prepare them for what you're going to be expecting from the program, and what the program should be expecting
Mm-hmm.
from you. And they play a big part in developing the plan that we're going to be working with.
So how do you find these kids? These young people. I don't want to say kids. Young people.
That's it. We call them young adults.
Yeah.
Through recruitments.
Mm-hmm.
We have a wonderful career advisor, Kalia Spears. She goes out and she has a connection
Mm-hmm.
with the young people. She's a millennial herself.
So are you talking to kids who are struggling in high school?
Yeah.
Are you talking to kids who might be at adult
school.
ed?
We're targeting out-of-school kids
Out of
right
school
now.
kid. Okay.
Kids
so,
who have graduated, kids who have
Okay.
probably dropped out of high
Mhm.
school, kids who are, out-of-school kids.
Okay. All right.
Yes.
And so they come, but they got to be willing participants.
Yes.
And
And we
they,
don't even worry about that because once they get there,
they're willing.
oh, they're going to be willing. They're going to be willing.
Now, are there some benefits to this for them? Do they get some perks? Do they get a bus pet? Like, how does it? Do they have to
Absolutely.
manage this on their own, or do you provide some supportive?
Yes, there are
Okay.
supportive services. There are bus passes to assist them getting to the Career Center or even going on their work site, going back to school,
Mm-hmm.
going for interviews. If they lack proper attire, we assist with that. It depends. It
Mhm.
depends on each situation, but there are supportive services to address the barriers that
Okay.
would prevent them from being successful.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Wow, that's pretty good.
Yes.
Okay, so how often is this a cohort? Like, how often do you do intake? How often do people go through this process?
Yes, it is a cohort, but intake is done around the clock.
Mm-hmm.
Intake is done whenever they call or come in.
Okay,
We'll
so
schedule for an intake.
if a young person calls you and they're like, okay, I would like to come in, you don't say, well, the next class starts.
No,
Oh,
we
okay.
never say no because
Okay.
you will lose that young
Oh,
person.
you know it.
Absolutely. You will lose that young person. We never say, well, call back in next week. No, immediately they're scheduled to come in and they meet. So, because they get an opportunity to hear about the program.
Mm-hmm.
And there are documentations that they'll have to bring in for eligibility.
Okay.
And when we enroll them, then we schedule them for the next cohort. But while they're waiting for the next cohort, we're still doing stuff with them. They're
Okay.
going to workshops that's going to hone and strengthen those soft skills. So we're still doing stuff with them to not lose them.
Okay. So talk a little bit about, so when they go, how long does this process take?
It depends on the young person.
Really?
Yes. Some young people come in and they're hard and fast about what they want and they put their nose to the grind and they get it done, and some needs a little bit more work. So it depends on the young person.
And do you so when they finish, or when they feel like they're ready to graduate or go to the next thing,
Right.
is that a job? Is that
It
another
could be,
opportunity?
it is an opportunity. Even if it's a job, it's another opportunity.
Okay.
Or it could be work experience. Or it could be a youth that says, I want to do a specific kind of job, but it needs they need training for it. So we could put them in training, or a specific job that needs a certain kind of certification. They'll have to get that specialized training for that job. That's the next step. Or they have the certification, but they don't have the work experience.
Okay.
That's another opportunity.
And that's a barrier for a lot of young people.
Absolutely.
You know,
absolutely. They graduate, they have the certificate, but they lack the work experience.
Yeah.
And that's where we collaborate with employers. We have partnerships with employers who will facilitate a young person for a work experience.
So you already have some stuff lined up before they even.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
You have to.
See, that's good. So
Yes.
so you're not sending them out into the world cold.
Oh, no. They're not on their own.
Okay.
And I'll just jump in to say that is what makes us unique, is that connection to the employers. Because in addition to folks who work all day, every day with young adults and beyond, we have a dedicated staff who work only with employers.
Okay.
And we're able to offer incentives to those employers to be willing to hire someone on. It may be through what we call work experience, which is when we Workforce Alliance American Job Center pays the wage of the young adults while they're working, gaining experience. So they're earning money while they're doing.
Absolutely.
That's a good incentive, I think.
It's a great
Absolutely.
incentive.
Right, because I think it's hard to have a kid work and there's no monetary benefit. I mean, I wouldn't do it. So why would I want young people to do it? And,
Absolutely.
And then because then that'll force them to have to go look for a job on top of doing this. Right. And then something is going to give, right? So it'll be this. So
Absolutely.
So we use that particularly with young adults
Absolutely.
to gain some work experience. The employer gets some extra help, provides that experience, and then it's terrific if they then decide to keep that person on unsubsidized, right? Straight up
Where the employer's paying.
Where they're paid on their payroll. But if not, that person has still gained that experience and
Absolutely.
got something on their resume. The other thing that our business services folks are able to do is what we call on-the-job training, which is the employer does hire that person. That person does join that payroll. And then we are paying a part of that wage directly to the employer to help them train this person on the job. So if a young person comes in with a certification but without the
experience,
skills,
right,
and the employer says, well, I think this person will be up to speed in 6 weeks, 10 weeks, 12 weeks, that's how long we'll subsidize their wage for.
Okay.
And then that goes directly to the employer at the end of that training period. Yep. They know them, they love them, they can't live without them, and they're going to keep them on as a full-on employee. So that's the best case scenario.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
So what is the conversation like when you go to recruit employers for this? Like, what are you met with? Are they willing, or do you have to do a little selling of this program? Like, and you have to sort of convey the fact that you all will be around. Like, you're not going to turn these young people loose and then they are responsible for whatever.
Right. The employers like the support. The employers like hearing of the 6-day intensive
Absolutely.
project CEO
that orientation, that 1 week orientation. The employers like that, that we're preparing them, we're grooming them. We don't just get someone, enroll them, and then send them out to the employer. We ensure that they're groomed.
And do you stay connected once they're on those sites?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely.
And then what? Do you leave them after the probationary period and they're hired, or?
And they stay with us. Even when they're hired, they're still on our caseload. We still monitor. We still manage what's going on. We still support. We offer moral support. We're there for the employers also. We stay in touch so that if there are any concerns or issues cropping up on the work site, we address that immediately.
Wow.
Because what we're looking for is that participant to stay on the job.
Okay.
And the employer is happy enough to take another participant.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
Right. It's in our interest to ensure that retention.
Mm-hmm.
We are, just to back up for a second. So the work that we do is funded by state and federal government. So we are required to provide that follow-up, right? And to be able to track who's hired, who stayed, how long. We are given the funds to help support them with transportation, with other things.
Work attire,
childcare.
Mhm.
We're talking about young adults, but many of them are parenting.
Mhm.
And
Absolutely.
so putting them in touch with Care for Kids or other programs that would help assist with childcare. So it's in our best interest to provide those wraparound services. And as Victoria just mentioned, you want a happy employer who's
Mhm.
going to then be interested in taking another person.
Yes. So do you work with kids who have maybe had some run-in with the juvenile justice system?
Absolutely.
And how do you handle
Absolutely.
that? Because everybody's talking about reentry and
Mhm.
juvenile justice. Like, that's the new thing everybody's got
Right.
their arms around right now.
And there is a reentry program at the American Job Center.
Okay.
There is a specific program that addresses those issues.
That's
But
next step.
right, it's
Mhm.
called the next steps.
Mhm.
But yes, we do work with those young adults, and you'd be surprised. There are a lot of young adults who do have those issues,
Mhm.
and we try to when working with them, we don't want them to see your record or whatever has happened in your past as a permanent barrier.
Mhm.
And breaking that barrier, and you'd be surprised the amount of employers, I'm sorry, that are willing to work with.
Well, that's what Bill,
Yes,
Mr.
you'd be
Villano said.
surprised.
He said,
Yes.
and he said exactly that. The people would be surprised how willing that these
Employers are.
It's getting
because they
better.
need the workforce, right?
Absolutely.
And if they can take somebody,
Absolutely.
if you got in trouble when you were 15 or 14 or 16,
Absolutely.
and you're 20, you have a different perspective.
Absolutely.
I hope at 21 or 25 than when you
Absolutely.
were 15 and you were out there doing
And
whatever.
when you hear participants who has had run-in with the law says, "I just want a chance,"
Yeah,
how do you not give them that?
yeah.
How
That's
do
a-
you not?
That's a good point. All right, so you got this program. You recruit these kids, young people, because I'm a mom, and I got this age cohort at my house. So I got a 19-year-old. I think I'm gonna send right
Please
over
do.
there.
Please do.
Because I think he's floundering about what it is to do.
Absolutely.
He's graduated high school. He was in the culinary program. Then he just kind of like, I don't think I want to, but I'm not sure. So I think he needs some focus.
And that's what we do.
And I don't think mothers can do that.
No.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't think I
No.
can, because
No.
I'm like, what? Why can't you?
Yeah.
I think they need professional people to say, okay, let's sit down
Let's
and
do some
assess.
assessments.
Yes, because mothers don't assess.
No.
We're just like, listen, you
We
need
just
to
want
get
them off our couch.
Yes, get a job and preferably get your own place. Quickly. So
And I will just add that, yes, you want to listen to when these young adults come in, and I should clarify, it's 16 to 24.
16 to 24.
For
So your
Project
19-year-old is
CEO.
right in
Perfect.
there.
let me tell you, I'm giving him the number when I get home.
But people come in, and this is true for adults. This is true for everybody. Come in with an idea of what they want or what they should do or what they're suited for. And part of our job is to also educate and advise
Correct.
people as to where the opportunities are.
Mhm.
Correct.
And
open
explain
their
that a little
eyes.
bit. The like, what do you mean by that? Like, where the opportunities are, like where the jobs
Where
could
the
be?
jobs are,
Okay.
right? As you mentioned at the beginning, what's happening?
What's
Mhm.
in demand?
What's in demand right now? And sometimes that's a surprise to people.
Yes.
When Bill was here, he talked about manufacturing.
Yes.
And that is a area that has huge demand right now.
Mhm.
And we're constantly struggling to get that word out and to convince people that this is a viable career path for you. And here's where you start and here's where you can go. So it's things like that and other areas that are growing,
Mhm.
distribution, logistics, warehousing, all with really strong potential entry-level opportunities and then career pathways going
All
forward.
the way up.
Mhm.
Mhm.
And that's what we look for, particularly with young folks.
adults.
Okay.
Mhm.
So part of what Victoria does and all of our staff does is when you come in, open your eyes to what those possibilities are. And maybe you didn't think of it as a good fit for you.
Correct.
But based on personality, based on your skills, based on your
Correct.
previous experience, there are, a lot of avenues that you can take that you just might not have thought about before.
That's a good point. I think because I think young people don't know, and I think what happens is people always just sort of want to funnel young people into like fast food kind of things, which I'm not knocking any of
No,
that.
and
Absolutely.
a lot of employers, McDonald's, for instance, has a wonderful career pathway.
Yes.
And they always have. Even when I was a
Yes.
kid,
Yes.
I didn't come through that, but I had friends who started at the front line and became managers and became
Absolutely.
owners.
Yes.
Absolutely.
So I've seen it. I've seen
McDonald's
it. I've seen
does
it.
have an amazing management program.
Yes.
Yes.
And some of the hotel chains do too.
Absolutely.
Some of the
Oh,
hotel
I'm
chains are
glad you brought
amazing.
that up.
Right.
Yes, hospitality. Yes,
It's one of our customized training programs.
And that's a
Yes.
big deal
Yes.
now because that is, I mean, it's service oriented, but it's a big deal. And it looks like it's going to be booming in this community as more and more hotels are being developed and
Many.
built. So, and they're going to need people.
Absolutely. And that's where we come in.
Yeah.
Yes.
So one of the pathway programs, I'm so glad you brought that up. One of the pathway programs is, so if someone comes in through what we call Project CEO, that may lead to them being directed toward one of the pipeline projects, one of which is the Hospitality Careers Initiative,
Mm-hmm.
where we work with the University of New Haven, which
Mhm.
has a renowned hospitality degree program. We found a way to deliver core entry-level skills in about 4 weeks.
Wow.
And
Mhm.
right. And then those graduates go on to entry-level positions with hotels in the area. We've worked with the Marriott hotels. They've been behind the scenes at the study at Yale. And chains like Marriott, chains like Hilton, chains like Sheraton also have in-house training that leads to career advancement. So
Mhm.
it's really just getting folks in the door, exposing people to what those jobs
Absolutely.
are,
Mhm.
and then showing them where they can go.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think it's sort of bit. Do you find that the employers, these kinds of employers, depend on initiatives like y'all have? Because otherwise, they'd have to just run ads in the paper, and then they'd have to take on doing soft
Absolutely.
skills training before they get to
Absolutely.
the actual training for the job.
Absolutely.
So
So they do depend on us.
yes,
They do.
and so that means that y'all have to be good at what you do.
We have to be.
Because they would say, they don't know what they're doing over there.
I believe I've always said that we don't have an opportunity to mess up.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have that opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a golden opportunity for us. We don't get the do-overs. It's got to be perfect every time going through the door.
Mm-hmm. So when you're out there talking to these employers, I mean, are there employers that you ever think, no, I don't think, I mean, is there employer situations where you think, well, this wouldn't work for this model, or this wouldn't work for what we're trying to do?
Sure. So we look for employers who are looking to hire full-time,
Mm-hmm.
who are, again, willing to offer long-term opportunities. So if we see an employer who's taken, I don't want to say taken advantage, but has participated in an on-the-job training contract, and then has, as soon as that subsidy ends, don't keep people on,
Okay.
we'll track that, and we'll say, you know what, that's not the kind of employer that we're going to continue to send people to and
Absolutely.
to
Mm-hmm.
work with. We look for employers, again, who have expressed to us or demonstrated what the opportunities are through advancements. When an employer is interested in even before they get matched, the employer has to go through a vetting process, right? We have to make sure they're a Connecticut-based company. We have to make sure that they're good on their state and local taxes.
Really?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So it's
pretty,
not just the participants that are being screened.
Right.
The other side of the
Oh.
fence being
Before-
screened
Oh,
also.
so they've got to go through a whole checkpoint system
Yes.
too.
Yeah.
Oh, I did not know
There's
that.
a checkpoint system, and our business services staff walk them through all
Mhm.
of that to make it easy on the employer side. We'll connect them with tax incentives that they can
Mhm.
stack along with our incentives. So all of that is happening while Victoria and her staff are working with the job
participants.
seekers. And so when it's time to make a match, everyone has, gone through everything they need to do And then once we actually literally write a contract with an employer
Okay.
when this happens. It's a written, document, signed document that is that says you've agreed to take this person on for this amount of time at this wage. So we're locking in the wage.
Okay.
And these are the things that you're going to teach them. These are the things that they're going to learn from you, and these are the things they're going to do for you. And so between the case managers working with the young adults and the business services folks, we're watching things on both sides, and we're seeing how it's going.
Wow.
And halfway through the work experience, the contracted period of time, halfway through, there's an evaluation done by the employer to see if the participant is learning what we expected them to learn. And whatever they're not learning, we address that.
Okay. Because I was going to ask, well, like, if issues come up, what is the turnaround time for addressing it?
Immediately.
Okay.
Oh, we address it immediately. We want the marriage to stay happy.
Right.
We want the marriage to stay happy.
Okay, Victoria, where was you when I? That's a good thought. So the employer feels like they are well supported.
Absolutely.
At the same time as the employee.
Absolutely.
Okay. So that's a wonderful thing. So how do you pay attention to all the kinds of industries that are coming to this area? Like, who is on top of that? Because that's got to like be a constant sort of thing.
It is a constant thing. So we have dedicated staff who are only business services specialists.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then so they are, the way we do it, which is pretty unique, is they actually work, they specialize in particular sectors. So we've talked about manufacturing. We have a dedicated person who works all day, every day with manufacturers. The same for hospitality. The same for healthcare.
Okay.
Transportation and logistics is a big one for us as well.
And what does that mean? Like FedEx?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, FedEx. In fact, next week we have a FedEx recruitment going on in New Haven. Actually, no, I'm sorry, Meriden. So so we have these people who are on the phone, going out, meeting employers, bringing in job orders. So we actually, for people who are enrolled with us, we have a system where we collect and log all of the what we call job orders, job openings with employers who our business services folks are working with, so that helps make matches as well. We're running recruitment events, which are actually open to the public. So anytime FedEx is coming to Meriden, or People Ready, who are recruiting to hire construction workers to build what's going to be the new Amazon distribution center.
Yes, Bill talked about that too, which, because there's already one here.
There's already one in Wallingford.
Yes.
They're building a brand new one at the old Pratt and Whitney site in North Haven.
Wow.
So, we are helping recruit the people to build it, and then we're going to help recruit the people to staff it.
Okay.
Okay. So, and then we have, we're always having recruitment events for healthcare.
And what is healthcare looking like these days? Like, what are some of the opportunities in healthcare? I used to be on top of that, and I don't really remember like what's happening.
Well, what we're trying to do is, again, we do look at entry level opportunities. So that's your CNAs, your personal care attendants, your home health aides, but moving people beyond that.
Exactly. It's a pathway.
Goal, right?
It's a pathway.
So we have a good project called the Health Careers Advancement Project, where you can come in, earn that entry level credential, right? Start working, but then come back, and we will help you continue to earn credentials that let you move up the career ladder. So you may have a CNA, but let's add phlebotomy and EKG to that.
Absolutely.
So that you can be a patient care technician, and that allows you to work not just at, it allows you to work at hospitals and places that require that next level. We have a very robust a recruitment pipeline into pharmacy tech.
Okay.
Huge demand.
Oh.
Huge demand. Very challenging.
Because that requires another kind of commitment of time.
It's a longer time.
Absolutely.
Okay.
There's a little more math. It's intense. It is. But so what? It's intense. It's a great opportunity. So let's get people into those opportunities, and that can lead to jobs at Walgreens, at CVS, Yale New Haven Hospital. And actually, Bill Villano just did a podcast interview talking about how the medical marijuana and dispensaries,
yes.
they hire pharmacy. You have to have a pharmacy tech.
Oh, I did not know
I
that.
didn't know that either.
I just thought, oh, well, come in here and do.
No.
So, yeah.
Right? Who knew?
Who
So,
knew?
Yes. So,
Wow. Okay, I'm feeling
know.
that.
I know.
I mean, I am. I mean, because you know what? It adds a level of professionalism and public safety,
Yeah.
I
Correct.
think, to it. Right.
Right.
So,
And dismantle that myth that, oh, as long as I smoke marijuana, I can do that.
yes.
No.
Yeah.
No.
It's really a profession.
Yeah, they're going away
Yes.
from the days of just driving
Yes.
by somebody's hood and
Yeah.
come here.
I
This
mean,
is a real thing
And
now.
in our state, it's still only medical dispensaries.
Mhm.
But, people are talking about possibly opening it up to a recreation or adult use is how they like to phrase it. So that would just mean more opportunities. But anyway, that's just one example. So, that's what's happening in healthcare, is where can we take people from where they are and then add to that,
Mhm.
right? This concept of always learning, lifelong learning,
Absolutely.
working and
Yeah.
and I wouldn't say leaving work and going back to school, but usually it's working and going to school.
Yeah.
Correct.
Yeah.
And
So
working through
talk
that.
a little bit about the educational like, do you have relationships with the neighboring higher education institutions like a Gateway, like a
Yes, we do.
Yale or Albertus Magnus or UNH I mean, you talked a little bit about the UNH and the hospitality stuff.
Right.
So what does that wraparound look like? I mean, do you have those kinds of threads for that?
So what we strive to do is, because when people come to us, they come to us. You said this. No one's looking to enroll in a program when they come
No.
to us. People are coming for work.
They want to work.
Okay.
They want to work.
They
They
wanna
want to work.
So what we try to do is, and you can jump in too,
Yes.
is work with. We're so lucky. We're surrounded by incredible educational institutions. Is to work with them to develop the programs that are just in time, that are yes, provide the training and credentials people need, but do it very quickly.
Mhm.
So whether we're working with Gateway or the manufacturing program that is 5 weeks long, that gives people enough entry level core skills so that then they can go to work and have a good footing. We
Mhm.
just graduated 19 from that, and they all had job offers by the
Mhm.
end.
Wow,
Or
that's
if
good.
it's or if it's the UNH program for hospitality. Same thing. We graduated 23 people after 4 weeks, and those people, the majority of those people went on and found employment right away.
Mhm.
So what we ask of our education partners is to be willing to develop those quick programs.
Mhm. Like you
Absolutely.
can't take months. Like
No, it
nobody's
can't
gonna
take
do.
months.
No, because
Nobody's got
Yes.
that
You're
time.
unemployed. I'm
You're-
unemployed. I
Yeah.
have no way. I have no income coming in. I cannot afford to sit in a classroom for 2 years.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I can't afford to sit in a
Or
classroom
90 days.
I can't afford to sit in a classroom for 9 months.
Mhm.
So it has to be quick. But even though it's quick, it's compact.
Mhm.
Okay.
It has all that they're going to need, all the nutrients, all the goodness that they're going to need
Oh, good.
to be successful.
Okay, because people can withstand 5 weeks.
Oh yes.
Right.
And do
Oh,
you
yeah.
stipend sometimes, or does some of this come with a little stipend, or some
Sometimes
of
we're
it?
able to, if we have the funds. We the manufacturing program I mentioned does come with a stipend. So whenever we can, we provide that. If we
Yes.
can't provide a stipend, it's transportation assistance.
It's the support
Okay.
services.
It's the other stuff.
Okay.
It's all those little things, those little nuances that's gonna
Yes.
play a role.
Now, do you ever feel the stress of trying to sort of stay ahead of what is needed? Do you because the project CEO is a new thing.
Right.
10 years ago was something else, or 5 years ago was something else.
Right.
2 years from now, it may have additional whatever. Like, do you feel always on the verge of staying in touch or in tune with what should happen next for the world of work?
Yes. And the best way and the best way to do that, the best way to stay ahead of the curve
Mm-hmm.
is to allow the young adults to have a buy-in.
Okay.
They have a say. We can sit behind a desk and say, okay, you know what's best for them? But they're out there.
Mm-hmm.
When they come in and tell us what's out there and what they need to do to stay ahead of what's out there, we have to listen.
Okay.
We truly have to give ear to what they're saying.
Okay.
So the only way we stay ahead of the curve, the only way is to have the young adult participate, add their voice to the development of Project CEO.
Okay.
Their voice is necessary to the successful development of Project CEO.
Okay. So how do people find out about Project CEO? Where do they go?
Well, they can always come to our website, which is workforcealliance.biz, or they can stop into the American Job Center, which is at 560 Ella T. Grasso Boulevard.
And that's over there by where Adult Ed is.
Correct.
It's in the same campus as Adult Ed.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay.
And then we work with a great group of partners who are, other service providers, community action agencies that they refer to us and we refer to them. So
really?
Folks may hear about it. And I know one of the goals Victoria has with Kalaya is to be doing more outreach through churches and through
because churches are full of young people.
Full of young people.
Yes.
But we look for
That's
ways
true.
to, and folks listening, may know of a young person or may, have one living in their house.
Yes.
And they can always
believe me
reach out. But I do want to mention, it's not a new thing that there are these services available to this age group. What's new is what we're calling it, right? So it's always been true that 16 to 24-year-olds could walk into an American Job Center or call us on the phone and say, hey, here I am, this is what I need. And we have for a long time. We also, Workforce Alliance also funds a number of community-based programs throughout the South Central region because we cover 30 towns. And
that's a lot.
Yes.
It's a lot of towns, a lot of people. So to do that, we contract with Higher Heights here in New Haven. We contract with Children's Community Program. We contract with Women and Families up in Meriden. We work with what's called the Tri-Town Collaborative, which is Meriden, Wallingford, and Middletown through their adult ed programs. And I'm missing one and it'll come to me. But so also through those places who are working with people all day, every day, we provide funds to them so that they can provide training, support. In many cases through those community programs, what's unique about those is many of them have a component that also helps people get that GED. So if they come to them without that GED, in many cases, that's the first thing they do with them. And then once that's done, then it's career planning and it's, okay, now you can go to Middlesex Community. We talked about Gateway, but Middlesex Community College is a huge partner for us. Or you might go to another
training
program. Middletown.
Okay.
Yeah, great school. So through that network of those community partners, we've been serving over 200 youth a year for a very long time. What we're doing now with what we're calling Project CEO is we're doubling the number of youth.
Absolutely.
Because just through Project CEO, the goal is to serve another 200 youth and young adults in this area. And it's based in New Haven, but it is open to residents of our 30 towns. And again, those 30 towns are on our website.
Okay. Wow. I'm excited about this because I think so much is anti-young people.
I know.
The language that we hear and the news. And so it's good to know that there are economic opportunities for young people.
Yes.
That people forget, I think, sometimes. So this is why it's good to be on the show.
Yes.
And this can loop and play again, and we can keep sending it out and people can hear it and be reminded to go down to Workforce Alliance over there on the Boulevard and the American Job Centers and connect people. If you know people, connect them to this. And so yeah, it has been a pleasure talking to you. I hope you come back.
Anytime. Thanks for having us.
Because I want to hear more about this. And
absolutely.
And if you've got other projects you want to talk about, come back on and talk about it.
We will.
Thank you, Victoria. Thank you,
welcome.
Ann.
Thank you, Babz.
Say hi to Bill.
I will.
I look forward to having him back on because I enjoy this whole economic conversation because it is contrary to what we hear often. So that we're in dire straits, and so it's good to know that people are still out there trying to make it happen. So thank
Awesome.
y'all.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you so much.
Thank you, Harry. I'm getting ready to play us out. We're in dire straits. People are still out there trying to make it happen. So thank y'all.
Thank you. Thank you so much.